Welcome back to the 127 Fit podcast. Today's guest is a doctor of chiropractic at Elite Chiropractic and Wellness. Today's guest is Dr. Lindsay Regehr. Dr. Lindsay, I want to welcome you to the 127 Fit podcast.
Thanks, and you pronounced my last name perfectly.
I know, we practiced a little bit before we turned this mic on, so and I had to spell it the way that I was going to pronounce it, so it's good. So we're off to a good start. So Lindsay, we're going to jump into the 4 questions that I like to call the conversational warm-up questions, just to kind of get the conversation ball rolling, so to speak. So I've got 4 questions that I like to ask all of my guests. The first question that I have for you: how do you start your day? Do you have a specific morning routine or morning ritual you like to stick to on most mornings?
Yeah, so Monday through Friday, I have a routine. The weekends, I just go off the rails and do whatever. But Monday through Friday, when I'm coming into work, I roll out of bed at like 5:05 in the a.m. Yep, and then I do a gratitude practice. So I always write down 5 things that I'm grateful for and just trying to find like the positive in the world. And I always write it like it already happened as well, even if it didn't happen already, because that kind of just gets me like set up for a positive mindset for the day. And then I sit down and then I write down like 10 goals and dreams that in my mind have already happened. So all the big like hairy, scary goals.
Yeah.
So I do that like every morning religiously. And then just like hop in the shower, get ready, make a little breakfast if I have time. I'm on like an oatmeal kick right now.
Okay.
So yeah, make some of that. I feed my dog Layla, and Layla comes to work with me every day. So we go for a quick little walk outside.
Okay, cool.
And then come over to work and get the day started, basically.
Okay, cool. So I want to, there's a couple things I want to kind of pull out of your morning routine. First of all, I want you to just talk about the reason why, like, you know, Monday through Friday, it's like, you're like, it's kind of like this, it's, you're going to do it no matter what. And I think I probably know, but I just kind of want to hear your perspective, because I think I think it's probably really healthy, and it's probably just kind of refreshing too. But why do you on Saturday and Sunday just kind of maybe set that aside a little bit and aren't focused so much on that morning routine as you are Monday through Friday?
Yeah, I was trying to do it every single day of the week, and then I would miss it on Saturday or Sunday, and I would get so mad at myself.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, I forgot to do it again. And then in my mind, that would just trigger a, I don't know, like bad sequence of events because I didn't do a gratitude practice.
Yeah.
That's so messed up, but that was what I was thinking. So I just decided, like, give myself some grace, take a couple days off. Even sometimes during the week, I might miss it once or twice.
Right.
And you know what? The world goes on.
For sure. And I think that's great, because I know for like me, it's like I naturally kind of like crave rigidity and regimen, and like, you know, I get kind of like anxious if I'm not doing what I think I'm supposed to be doing, and that it can kind of like, I don't want to say it spins out of control, because I get right back on track, but like it kind of creates some anxiety and some angst within me. Is that kind of like how you feel with some things? Like, are you pretty like kind of like that structure and rigidity? And if you kind of don't do what you think you're supposed to be doing, can that kind of cause some anxiety for you too, or not?
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that I've worked on recently in the past couple of weeks. So every Sunday I would sit down and start to work again and plan out my week. In the past few weeks, I haven't done it, and it's been so refreshing, because I've just started doing more of like a Friday afternoon work and plan out the rest of my week. So having my weekends free it's like exhilarating.
Yeah,
I'm like,
for sure.
oh my God, there's so much free time, because once I didn't do it once, I'm like, oh, it's okay. And it was kind of stressing me out not doing it, but then when it came to Monday morning and everything was fine, I realized it's okay.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think that's some wise words, because I think there's a lot of us, especially people that are going to be listening to the podcast, you know, a lot of people obviously in the health and fitness space, and we're, you know, kind of type A, and like can be
so type A
tendencies in terms of anxiety, and, you know, I've got to do this, and we kind of just like, you know, boxed ourselves in. And so I think those are some great words in terms of just like, hey, Monday through Friday, I'm really going to try to knock this out every morning. But, and then comes the weekends, you kind of let the guard down, which I think that's healthy overall. You know what I mean? And in the long run, right? Yeah. Now also, I want you to kind of touch on the gratitude aspect of things, and then kind of like the 10 goals and 10 dreams that you write down, because 99.9% of all my guests that come on here, there's some sort of gratitude laced into that morning routine, and there's some sort of like journaling practice or writing. So why the gratitude, and then kind of like how did you come up with the 10 goals, 10 dreams part of that morning routine or ritual as well?
Yeah, with the gratitude, being a business owner, and I've been in business for like 2 years, there's a lot of ups and downs, and sometimes there are days that are busier, sometimes there are slower days. So when I wasn't practicing gratitude and I had a lot of free time on my hands, I would kind of go into like a negative spot and be like, why am I not busy right now? So the gratitude part came in, and just being grateful for, okay, I have like 2 hours open on my schedule. I can get some content done. I can like follow up with some contacts. So just the gratitude is really important to me, to flip that negative into a positive, because otherwise, I mean, it's just like not a good environment to be in when you're spinning down into the negative. And also with my office mates, we have a team meeting every Monday, and I always talk about like, what are you grateful for this week, and what was your struggle? And then what was your struggle? How are you grateful for that struggle? And how can we learn from that? So the gratitude is also just like a learning process. And how can I learn from what is happening in my life, and maybe like what's not happening?
Cool.
Yeah. And then with the 10 dreams and goals, so like one of them, I'm going to buy my husband a Tesla. Like that is on my list. And I write that down every single day. So for an example with that, I have it pictured out in my head so clearly how it's going to happen, and I know exactly what I'm going to say, I know exactly what car I'm getting, I know exactly like how it's going to play out. So that's so real in my mind that I just like know it's going to come true, and like having that as one of my end goals, I work harder every day and like take little small steps in order to like achieve what I need to do to get there.
Right.
So that's like a material thing. And then another one of my like goals and dreams that I write down is, a lot of people focus on like, I want to make like $1 million, and like that's cool, like me too. But like, what is your environment going to be like when you have that money? So I always envision and write down a goal and dream of like, I have this life of freedom, I get to come and go as I please, and I get to have security in my life, and like I just write it down like it's already happening, and this is what I have already. And then that goes into like a vision that I play out in my head. Yeah. And it's very like crystal clear. So like going through all of those like 10 dreams and goals that I have really sets me up for the rest of the day to like keep myself motivated.
So where did all of this come to be? Like, did you read a book or something? Because like this is like obviously you're like kind of like training or trying to retrain like your subconscious and all that. Because like I'm pretty into all this stuff too. So where did this practice in terms of like, you know, kind of the vision work and kind of like retraining your brain, specifically the subconscious and all that, where did that come from? I
think just like a collection of coaches that I've worked with, and podcasts and things that I read. And I used to be a very laid back person before I started a business. And now I got to be so type A that I need to have some kind of structure in my life every day. And just like working through that, the mindset piece was a really big thing that I had to work on when I first started. So that's like really why I'm adamant about doing gratitude and setting goals every day.
Cool. All right. So speaking of books, the next kind of question in terms of the warm-up, do you have a favorite book or book that you like to gift often? And if it's a different book, or if you want to in terms of like you have a favorite book and it's the same book that you gift, or it's a different book that you gift, and all of that, however you kind of want to take that, if there's more than one, feel free to share.
I'll go with the book that I gift the most often is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
Yep, it's come up a lot.
Someone gave it to me, and then I like to pass it on to someone else who really needs it. I don't know, and you can always just like flip open a page in that book and read something and be like, yeah, I am a badass, like, get over your pity party.
There we go, I like it. Hardcore, right?
Totally.
Okay, cool. And that book, it's come up. Obviously, it's come up with a lot of female guests, but yeah, it's been a pretty common book. So I one of my guests like, well, you should read it. I was like, well, yeah, maybe I should. I should probably gain some good info from right.
It's on audiobook, Audible.
Audible, yeah. I don't do Audible. I like having like I probably it's because of my age and just when I was growing up like. That stuff didn't exist. So I like having like a hard copy of a book in my hands. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, it's just probably, again, from childhood or something. But now the next question, favorite quote, mantra, or word. Again, if there's more than one, feel free to share. And I kind of lately have been prefacing this with the fact that we all go through different seasons of life, right? And obviously, even in the season of life that we're all kind of going through right now with the virus and everything is very unique. But maybe this is a favorite quote, mantra, word for maybe this season of life. Maybe it's for 2020. Maybe it's a favorite quote, mantra, word from a previous season of life. Kind of, again, however you want to guide that or take that. Lindsay, favorite quote, mantra, or word?
Yeah, so I'll go with my words for 2020. Intentional and fun.
Okay,
so fun is always part of my world. Everything I do has to be fun or else I'm not going to do it. And last year in like 2019, I was doing a lot of fun events and I love hosting parties at my office and I love doing women's night out and like pampering parties and just getting people together and building up a community. It was really fun, but the intention behind it wasn't very clear. So I was expecting one outcome and that was not happening. So this year I had to add intention into my words because I'm being very intentional about like how I am networking and how like who I'm contacting and what I'm doing with like podcasting and getting more content out there instead of just like doing what I feel like doing because it's fun. There has to be that intention behind it and like an outcome that I'm expecting.
Yeah. So, now, in terms of the intentionality, I really love that word and because it's a big part of my life, right? But do you feel like that intentionality is something that you've had to maybe like step into or lean into when you became a business owner? Because like you kind of just said earlier, like before you became a business owner, you're more mellow, chill. Now you're like super type A. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that probably is all being, it's coming from you being a business owner. So it's like, hey, like if the more money you're going to make, it's kind of on you. So instead of kind of like being so like mellow and chill and just kind of like going with the flow, like you have to be very intentional because like, hey, like, I want to make money for myself, my family, like there's other people that are a part of this team, like they need to make money. Like I need to be very focused, intentional to achieve these goals so that we can get where we want to go. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Like now that I have another doctor in the office, I feel like I need to be the leader even more. Right. So I'm definitely like very intentional with like what I say and what I do in order to like lead other people to success.
Right. Now, in terms of being intentional about like the words that you say, like I want you to expound on that because that's something, again, in terms of like my intentionality, like I know the power of the story that I'm telling myself. And like as human beings, like we all have a story or stories that we tell ourselves. Like inside of our mind, like we think of ourselves a certain way, right? And there's all kinds of things going on in our mind. So many thoughts and words and things of that nature. But in terms of like you being intentional about like your words, so just like even the words that you're speaking to yourself, so your own self-talk, and then like the words that you're speaking to clients and things like that, words that you're speaking to, the other doctor or the people that are a part of your team, what does that look like in terms of like how are you intentional with those words?
Oh man, the self-talk thing, that could be like a whole nother
a 2-hour podcast,
a whole 2-hour
right?
podcast,
Yeah.
Because it's easy to, be really hard on ourselves.
Of course.
Especially as like women, with the gyms being shut down right now, I'm kind of going insane. And
right.
like,
we all are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I'm gonna like gain weight and like this is gonna happen, and that I have to like really intentionally think like it's okay, like maybe the world is just like telling me to slow down right now, and I will take that as a sign and I will do a home workout.
Right. Yeah.
And it's fine. So I really have to like focus on what I tell myself because I work with a lot of women, and a lot of us are like, yeah, like we want to lose weight and we want to look good, we want to be fit. And I work with them to be like, well, why are you telling yourself that you're not good enough? And these words that you're saying to yourself, you're like just perpetuating the story and you're replaying it over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So me being intentional with how I speak to myself reflects onto how I speak with my patients and clients and my friends. Yep. So it really keeps me in check, honestly.
For sure.
Yeah. And being more of a leader in the office now and in the business with this whole virus thing, yeah, it's like very stressful. And I could also be like, oh, poor me, and, you know, like cry about it, but that's not my intention. And I am intending on staying open the whole time that this whole thing is going on. And I really had to like dig deep and like ask, like, how can we adapt to this? And what are you going to do to get through this instead of just playing like the victim card?
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, and that's great perspective, and I appreciate that, because I firmly believe the stories that we tell ourselves, our self-talk, that's what's manifested in our actions from the day to day, right? Now, what's kind of like some of that self-talk that you struggle with? You kind of alluded to it, but like what's like you going back to that word intentional? Like what are you really being intentional about in terms of like maybe some words or a story or self-talk that you really struggle with like overcoming? So where are you trying to be intentional? Like personally, I want to get specific in terms of like your self-talk.
Yeah. So like the big one I came over is just like body image stuff and, you know, like not being so nitpicky about myself.
Yeah.
And then like intentionally, professionally, I really have this big vision in my head of building up this huge brand and like very well known, hopefully internationally. And part of that is working on getting out in public more and speaking on stage and being intentional with who I am speaking to and what I'm speaking about.
Right.
So that's been like a struggle this year a little bit, just clarifying my message about what I want, like what my intention is when I'm like speaking to someone and how I want to motivate them and educate them.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Awesome. And is it fair to say then, like, because you said you mentioned you work with a lot of females, right, in your chiropractic practice. So is that kind of like some of your struggles with your self-talk and just in terms of body image and things like that? Is that fair to say that a lot of women that you are working with, like, is that kind of a common struggle with women, kind of like the body image and just like probably, I hear a lot of women on my podcast, they talk about being good enough or worthy and all that. Is that pretty similar with a lot of the ladies that you come in contact with?
Yeah, I would definitely say that's a reoccurring theme, and how I just oh my gosh, she smells so bad.
It's
how
okay.
and just like the women I attract, I kind of feel like even though most of them are maybe like 20 years older than me, I see them in like this high power like position. They're very successful and they're very overstressed, and they're still like having these stories playing in their head. So I can almost like see myself in them like when I'm 20 years older.
Yeah.
And like how can I help them also while like helping myself?
Absolutely.
To get all those stories.
Yeah. Cool. I like it. All right. So the last question in terms of the warm up, Lindsay, do you have a favorite or most listened to podcast? And just like the previous couple questions, if there's more than one, feel free to share.
Yes. Okay. I'll go in order of silliness to actually seriousness.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So I listened to The Morning Toast.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of that?
It's been brought up on the podcast.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it keeps me young and in tune with what the millennials are doing. And then I also listen to The Lady Gang. So it's a little bit more grown-up version of The Morning Toast. And then the Leveled Up podcast. That's another local podcast, and a couple of my friends run that one, and it's always like inspirational and funny, and I'll be on that one next week, I think.
Cool.
And then the one I listen to every day right now is Find Your Happiness, Lori Harder.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's come up before, yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
So, yeah, those are like my 4 that are always in rotation.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to, before we branch into kind of your backstory and move in that direction. Like you mentioned earlier, like coaches, right? And just I mean, because like, you know, like I spend time like in the personal development space in terms of just like, you know, people that I follow on Instagram and, you know, so just the way that you're talking and some of just like, you know, just what your message up to this point, you know, it's resonating with me. But where is there like one person, like, you know, like Tony Robbins comes up a lot. There's a lot of different people out there that are, you know, coaches in the terms of like, maybe we don't hire them, but we appreciate their message. We follow them on social media. We read their book. So is there like one person or a few people that have been really, you know, inspirational, motivational, and have really helped you develop your message as a woman and as a chiropractor?
I wouldn't say that like anyone who you would know has really motivated me. I have a really good friend, and I feel like she's the one who really introduced me into the mindset and self-talk and law of attraction, and really introduced me into that world. And I feel like I've learned more from someone who's actually in my life rather than like coaches or like Tony Robbins or someone like that.
So is it? So what's the what I'm trying? I guess I'm trying to get from you is what is the value? Obviously, it's important to you, but like just for the listeners and people that are, you know, because there's gonna be people in the fitness space that they're getting ready to graduate and be a doctor in chiropractic, and they want to open up their own business, or they're working for somebody else and they're tired of like, you know, just the normal thing, right? Yeah. So just speaking to people out there, how important is it? Whether it's somebody on social media or it's through a book or it's through maybe a personal connection, how important and valuable is it, especially for those people that are stepping into that entrepreneurship and trying to break the mold of the same thing that's always been done in the fitness and health spaces? How important is it to have somebody, a mentor or a coach, kind of like, you know, being able to speak into your life?
110% absolutely necessary, because when I started my business, I didn't have a mentor, I didn't have a coach. I just woke up one day and was like, I'm gonna start a business. So definitely having a coach or a mentor or someone in your life is absolutely necessary, because I mean, the greatest athletes in the world have coaches.
Of course.
And anyone who's great has a coach. Like Tony Robbins probably has a coach.
Oh, he does. Of course he does. And like, multiple.
Yeah, like multiple coaches. So you just always need to like be around someone who's going to level you up, which is why I've gone through a few different coaches, because I like, once I get like a new goal in mind, or like I've moved past something in my mindset, then I need to move on to the next one.
Absolutely. Cool. 110% necessary. I like it. That's good. Okay, so kind of at this juncture, I kind of want to just transition into your backstory. When I was preparing for the podcast, I saw on your website that you grew up in Wisconsin, so you're a good old Midwestern girl. Went to college in Iowa, where I'm from, so shout out to Iowa. But so just outside of kind of like being from Wisconsin, you know, where did you specifically grow up? Maybe like what town? Where did you go to school in terms of like undergraduate? I also saw that sports were a big part of your upbringing, but maybe just touch on, because I saw on your website basketball and track were kind of like your main jam. So just touch on the sports. What did sports mean to you? Do you have any siblings? Just kind of touch a little bit about your upbringing, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so you're also from a small town.
5,000 people, yeah.
Oh, my town has 1,600 people.
Okay, that's... Do you guys have stoplights or not?
No.
Okay, it's officially small. I always ask, like, oh, I'm from a small town. Like, do you have stoplights? And like, nope. I'm like, okay, that's a small town. We have stoplights, so...
Oh, yeah, you're a big city.
Big city, that's right, yep.
Yep, small town, and we actually grew up on a farm for like my first, 8 or 10 years of life. Yep. So, and I have an older brother. He's like 4 years older than me. So when you grow up on a farm in a small town, you don't have babysitters. You just like run around.
Yep, free range.
Yeah, free range, and like do whatever you want. So I think that's kind of where like my love of being active came from, and being outside, because that's all I did all day, every day. And then when I was old enough to play sports, my brother played basketball, so I was like, I'm going to play basketball too.
Cool. Yeah.
So I played basketball like, when did we start? Like 5th grade up until high school, every single year of my life. So that was my jam. Also did like track. So during all those sporting events, I hurt myself quite a few times. I hurt my back pretty badly in like middle school, but I didn't know about chiropractic at that point.
Right,
so I was just like popped up on painkillers. Yeah. So imagine being like on painkillers and you're in like social studies.
Yeah, I don't want that's messed up. I don't want to think about that.
You can't focus. And then I've had like so many like ankle injuries and knee injuries, and I did physical therapy for everything.
Right.
So when I went to undergrad, I went to UW Eau Claire, so it's by Minneapolis for people who don't know that.
Okay, cool.
I kind of just went to school to like get out of my small town. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm just going to like go to school. So you know what? It's totally fine to like screw around for a couple of years of your life.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but then I was like, I think I'll be a physical therapist because that's like the only thing I knew. So I went through this whole program at Eau Claire and then applied to physical therapy schools all across the country. And like, I don't know, probably talking to other physical therapists, it's very competitive to get into. Of course,
yeah.
So if you want to be a physical therapist, you should not waste 2 years of your school because that's not good for your GPA. So going through all of that, I was just like applying, I was working part-time and whatever. And then I ended up working at a chiropractic office.
Cool.
And I was the office manager. And I don't even know how they hired me. I have no experience managing anything. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll manage and do all the billing. So I did that. And when I started there, I had this really, really, really bad low back pain, like from that basketball injury, I'm assuming, way back in middle school. And he adjusted me a couple times. And it was so much better. And it was pretty much gone. I was like, what? I didn't even know this was possible. So that's when I was like, maybe I'll be a chiropractor. And this office that I worked at is actually in Madison, Wisconsin. He incorporated a lot of like sports rehab along with the chiropractic.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, oh, those are like perfect. That's exactly what I like to do. Because in my mind, I didn't know anything about chiropractors. I thought it was just like crack, and like, bye, see you later.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are like that, but we'll probably touch on that in a little bit. But
but then I realized like you can do basically like plan your treatments around whatever you want.
Absolutely.
And also, people voluntarily come to see you instead of at physical therapy when people are yelling at you because you're putting them through pain. And I just didn't realize what a negative environment I was working in like physical therapy clinics and stuff. Until I was in chiropractic. I'm like, oh, people are very happy to come here and see me. So yeah, that's like how I got into the chiropractic world.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna take a couple steps back because I want to touch on a little bit more of your upbringing, your childhood, right? Because that's really what shapes us and who we are today. So growing up in a small town, and obviously your town was smaller than mine, but you get into the single digit thousands, like those are small towns. So and you grew up on a farm, so that's even a more unique experience. But in terms of just kind of like your home environment, obviously there's a lot of generalizations in terms of the Midwest, and rightly so. But like a lot of people in the Midwest, grow up in some sort of like religion, right? And, going to church is kind of part of the routine because it's what we've always done basically, right? So for you, with your experience in a small town, growing up in the Midwest, was like going to church and being involved in some sort of like religious activity, was that a part of your childhood as well?
I am raised Catholic, and we did go to church every Sunday pretty much, and I did all of that jazz, but we didn't go to the Catholic school. We went to the public school.
Oh, okay.
So, like, in my childhood, our whole lives revolved around sports.
Right.
And I think that's also, like, where my competitive nature comes in because I've been just competing.
Right,
since forever.
Cool. Now, were your parents, were they athletes growing up, or did they have an interest in sports, or where did that kind of come from?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, yeah. Well, my parents didn't really either, so yeah.
No. But I guess there's nothing else to do, so that's what you do.
Yeah, especially in a small town. Yeah, you play sports, and then you get older, you drink beer, and try not to cause trouble. Now, in terms of just like, and then we'll move on from the childhood, but in terms of sports, because that's exactly how my life was. I grew up playing sports from a very young age. All I cared about was sports, that I was going to be a professional athlete, like that, the whole thing, right? Now, what, as you look back, you just kind of talked about like the competitive edge and stuff, is something maybe that was ingrained in you through the sports, but is there something else that you feel like sports really taught you? Because I feel like sports, obviously sports is like God in our country, especially like football and things like that. But there's a reason why sports are so powerful in our country and around the world, is because sports teach us so many life lessons, right? Mm-hmm. So outside of, again, the competitiveness, what is maybe something else you feel like sport taught you in your childhood that's been very important in adulthood?
Yeah, I mean, teamwork is obviously always a
For
revolving theme.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I was always like point guard in basketball, so you're like the one calling all the shots,
For
and
sure.
you're the one being the
Yep.
leader.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe I just liked being in that position.
That's cool.
I mean,
yeah.
also kind of by default because I'm short, but
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where, like, now I've evolved into owning a business because
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to be told what to do all the time, and
For
I
sure.
like to call the shots.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe that's kind of where like the sports comes in for me,
Right,
like
right.
throughout life. And I also remember that I like to figure things out on my own and like do my own struggles. So in small towns, you know, parents can make a few phone calls
Mm-hmm.
and be like, "Can you make my kid play more?" And like this and this.
Right.
And my mom was like, "Should I do that?" I'm like, "No, like, do not call my coach." I'm like, "I'm going to work harder and I'm just going to be like the starter like I always am."
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's what's going to happen. So
For sure.
I think that's also just like another life lesson that I carry forth with everything that I do.
What's something that your parents really instilled in you that you really appreciate?
They let me like do my own thing. Like,
I know that kind of seems to be the thing,
Yeah.
like just free reign, just living life, which is good though.
I mean,
It's
they
good.
had definitely the restrictions on me, and
Of
I didn't
course.
follow them. So, and
You were the youngest. You're a girl, so you're just like the little
Totally.
precious sweetheart, right?
yeah, they're like whatever, and they let me like. They're always like, you just like beat to your own drum, and
Yeah, I've heard that from my parents.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I just try to be resourceful.
Yeah,
So,
that's cool. That's
so
good.
yeah.
Awesome. So they kind of just let you be you.
They let me be me, and even if they wouldn't let me be me, I would still be me.
I like it. It's good. It's good. It's good. All right. So Lindsay, let's you kind of already touched on just like your college experience and just kind of how you got into chiropractic and stuff like that. What outside of kind of like, messing around the first couple of years in college, because a lot of us did that, right? And that's just kind of, I think, part of the college experience. But in terms of just like maybe learning to study and just like the whole college experience outside of maybe like the social stuff, right? Because most of us kind of get what the social stuff of college is all about. But is there maybe a takeaway from college? And it can be, maybe your undergraduate, it can be from during chiropractic school. Like, what was a takeaway from college in the sense of, you look back, you're like, man, like that's something I took away from those college years in terms of schooling and education that, has been a huge help or a positive in your life, business owner and just life in general.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we should all study, but I think my takeaway is that it's all about the relationships that you build up and the friendships that you build and the people that you know, because I don't remember a single test that I took in any college.
I'm right with you.
Even like my national boards, I barely remember that. I just remember it was very long and tedious. I remember I studied a lot, but also we just had like fun and like it was fun to hang out with my friends and like get to know them and learn from other people because there's only so much you can learn from a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like that, building relationships and kind of like, networking and things like that, that's I mean, in order to be a successful business owner and to grow a brand and to grow a business, like it's really literally, I mean, I can't think of a whole lot of examples where this wouldn't be true, but literally like it's all about who you know and those relationships and connections, right?
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit. So we'll get more into the specifics of your business and what you're doing, but just in terms of like just those relationships, because like from my perspective, like relationships and getting to know people and putting yourself out there and connecting and all that, like that really is like everything. And it's so healthy in terms of like what we're focused on in our lives is health, wellness, fitness, and all that. like the relationships, it's just healthy to have that human connection. So just talk a little bit in terms of relationships and business and how that's really important if you want to continue to grow and make money ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, I started my business based on relationships. I didn't do any advertising. I still don't really do any advertising. Like, my first patient is because of someone that I met at a networking event, and I've followed up with them, and I think it's really important to make people feel heard.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people do networking wrong and just go there and expect something, and that's not what it's about. Like, I want to make a connection, again, with intention. Like, when I go to an event, it's not my intention to get every single business card and, like, get you to be my patient. Like, if I make one or two really good connections, that is a success for me.
Absolutely.
And following up with that. Because, like, those relationships are more fulfilling, like, for the soul and just in, like, business in general. So that's how I've, like, used my relationships.
Now, I want you to expound a little bit more on what you said about making people feel heard. Like, how valuable and important is that in terms of the type of practice you're doing in, chiropractic? Like, I do personal training. I was a school teacher the last 2 years. Like, for me, it's so important to allow people to talk and to share their story. And a lot of times for me, and I'm sure it's the same with you, like, you begin to allow people to talk about, I've got this pain here in my low back, but then they're talking about their husband, they're talking about their wife, they're talking about their kids, their grandkids, like, they're talking about, their yoga class or whatever. And as you just listen to people and allow them to share their story and kind of share their heart, share their pain, physically and whatever else, like, I feel like that's really how you build rapport with people, and you build those connections, those deep relationships, and that's how you keep business, and that's how you create referrals and all of that. Like, the goal in the heart isn't like, well, I'm going to listen to this person and build this relationship because I want to get more money from them or whatever, but just out of the genuineness of our heart, if we allow people to share their story and we listen and we just kind of create that space, like, it just builds into something, very positive. So just talk a little bit about how you try to do that within your own practice, within your own business, in terms of listening to people. Expound more on, your intentionality of making people feel heard.
Yeah, that starts with the first time I meet someone in my office. Of course, we go through the pain points, but then I also ask about what's causing stress in their lives. And usually it's either just like life in general, or work, or finances, or family. And not everyone wants to talk about it right away.
Of course.
But I at least allow them the space, like, okay, if you want to talk about it, I'm here to listen. Like, I'm not a therapist, but if you want to vent to me, I'm more than happy to help. And I also make that connection for people that what's going on in your mind, it does physically affect your body.
Absolutely.
And, like, vice versa. So if you're having chronic pain, like, what is that stress that you're holding in your body that's making you experience that on the daily? Like, for example, one of my newer patients, I love her. She came in crying one day, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong?" And she was had some neck pain, and she was feeling very overwhelmed. And we were just talking through how that overwhelmed feeling in her life was causing this physical pain. Physical pain was causing her to feel more stressed and overwhelmed. So walking through how the mind is responding to that, and then physical things we can do to calm down the mind to all have it work together.
Right.
And I do become a sounding board for everyone, and they tell me everything that's going on in their lives, and I just feel like having that personal connection makes the care that I give so much better.
Absolutely.
Because I can just understand okay, I get why you're feeling like this today, and it's just better care.
Yeah,
overall.
of course. Yeah. And we're gonna come back to. I want to talk more about kind of that mindset, because I had a guest on a week ago, Dr. Amy. She's a physical therapist here in the Denver area, and a huge part of her practice in terms of somebody coming in and they're like, my ankle hurts. It's okay, well, what else is going on in your life? Because that's the holistic approach, right? And even for me as a personal trainer, my situation, I'm not I'm personal training at an Anytime Fitness, right? So it's more you got to come in, they sign up for the packages, you put them through a workout, all that. I can't right now, just in my setting right now, really get into like a holistic approach. But when I consult with people, I talk about what I call my health foundation, which is sleep, nutrition, movement, mindset. And I say I like to take a holistic approach, to the training, because the training aspect of like the movement that we're going to be doing in the gym is a very small part of health, fitness, wellness, longevity and all that, right? So we'll kind of get back to that, because that's like huge, that mindset and like the pain and all that. And again, it goes back to the stories we're telling ourselves and how things are manifested. But we'll come back, because I want to step back into like just you getting into chiropractic, right? So you start working at this chiropractic office in the front desk. You get adjusted. You realize like, man, like this is really helping my pain and stuff. You gain this interest. You go off to chiropractic school. Now I want to spend a little bit of time talking about chiropractic school, because you went to Palmer College, which is in Davenport, Iowa, correct?
Yes, it is.
And so I've had a lot of chiropractic treatments over the years. Obviously, I'm from Iowa, spent a lot of time in South Dakota, the Midwest. So a lot of the chiropractors in that area have gone to that college. It's a pretty prestigious college. It's very well known countrywide, if not worldwide, right? So what was that experience like for you when you got to Palmer College? Did you have a great experience? Kind of like just walk us through a little bit of those years at Palmer College, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I feel like when I got there and I met my core group of friends, and just being in that bubble of chiropractors, I was like, oh my God, I am with my people. This is amazing.
You're funny. That's great.
I'm like, because... Okay, I'm from Wisconsin.
Yep.
We eat a lot of cheese, we drink a lot of beer, we eat a lot of meat and potatoes. Like
that's just the Midwest. That's the Midwest, because
like,
that's how it is for Iowa too. Yeah.
It's so Midwest, and like when I go home, it's so hard to find like fresh fruits and veggies, and I have to drive like half an hour.
Absolutely.
And I was like, "Do you guys have almond milk?" And they're like, "No."
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Oh my God!
Right?
It's like, so when I go home, the diet goes off the rails.
Yeah. No, I understand. Yep.
But even like when I was growing up, I didn't like to eat that food all the time, and I was so difficult. And my parents were like, "You're just being difficult."
Right.
So when I get to Palmer, and like everyone's like, I eat organic and vegetables, and there's healthy options, and then we talk about like homeopathic treatments and like letting the body heal itself. I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been missing my whole life.
Yeah.
It was like literally, it was like life changing, of course.
Yeah.
Because I realized that, wow, maybe I've been doing things not wrong, but just like different, and there's maybe a better way to like heal myself.
For sure. Yeah. So just like the nuts and bolts of like actual chiropractic, school to become a doctor in chiropractic, like I'm assuming classes were pretty intense, and like compared to like undergraduate and some of the other stuff you were studying, like did you kind of have to alter your study habits? Just kind of like talk a little bit about that. Just again, for, maybe there's somebody that's a senior in high school, or they're, in their junior year in undergraduate, and they don't know what they want, but maybe they've been thinking about going to chiropractic school. Just to maybe, speak to those people for a minute.
Yeah. I'm one of those annoying people that if I put forth like 10% effort, I can get straight A's and everything.
Well,
so.
Yeah, that's annoying. Yeah. Okay, hang on a second. I hope you, please don't tell me you were this person, because were you the person that missed like 0.5 on a test and you raised your hand and complained and argued?
No,
okay, good.
No.
Okay. I had those people in like in especially in college, and I'm just like, I'm sitting over here with like a D- and I missed like 45, and I'm like, are you seriously arguing about 0.5 that you missed? You got 99.9%. Like, so that's good. Okay. Continue.
No, I'm that person in class. I'm like, put your hand down. Like, ask after class.
Okay. We're good then. We're good.
Yeah. So I mean, undergrad, I don't know. I feel like it's such a long time ago. I can barely remember, but I remember chiropractic school. Definitely like I think I had to study a little bit more, because at that point I was out of school for like 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So I had to get back into study mode, and I was like, wait, how do I study again? I forgot how I learn. And honestly, I didn't go to lecture all the time, so
you are just a straight up rebel, aren't you?
Yeah.
Huh?
Straight up rebel. I don't want to go to class. I want to talk to my friends instead. So it's hard to talk to your friends when you're in the middle of class.
What would you okay, since you're such a rebel, what would you suggest though? Somebody's that's thinking about going to chiropractic school, or maybe they're there and they're just, maybe it's a little bit of a struggle. What's just maybe like a suggestion or maybe a tip or something that you can just kind of give them in terms of insight to maybe just help them out?
Yeah, I highly recommend that you should review your anatomy and physiology like before you go to school.
Okay.
Like, luckily, my whole background is anatomy and physiology,
Right.
so like that was very easy for me. But a lot of people struggle with that who are in like a second career or like who didn't have that background.
Yep.
And then also, yeah, and it's okay to have fun, but I did stay home like once in a while and study.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like national boards, like that's a very stressful time. So being around all these healthy people, you are more encouraged to like eat healthier so that you don't get sick while you're in school because like it can be kind of stressful.
For sure.
And just study really hard at the beginning of the semester so then when it gets to finals, you can fail. You won't fail the class.
Lindsay, I am not going to ask you about any more tips or suggestions or insights in terms of schooling, girl.
Oh my gosh. There's this one class I accidentally filled out the wrong like Scantron. It was like it was like B instead of A. I got every single question wrong and I still passed the class. When my professor was like, "Did you realize that you failed?" The exam. I was like, "Yeah, that was weird. I thought I aced it." He's like, "Yeah, you did. You just like put in the wrong Scantron."
That's awesome. It's good though. See, it's just good because all of us are so different. We're so very similar as human beings, but we're all so different. That's why I personally love like just having these in-person podcasts, what I call conversations. I don't call them interviews anymore because like we all just have a unique story, right? And we all like there's no like there's no one like what do they say like linear path to success or however you kind of want to word that. Like there's all kinds of ways to success or to being like your best version, right? What works for you, Lindsay, is great. That might not work for somebody else. It might work for somebody else, but that's why I just love like your story. Like, well, this it's kind of like all over the place. It's free range. It's free spirit. It's rebellious, but like it's good though too because that's who you are. And I think at the end of the day, like just that. Being able to share our authentic story with the world, like there's so much power in that. And that's why, honestly, that's why I do the podcast because it's like, it's a platform for people to share their story. Because somebody's going to be like listening to this and like we're having fun and like it's, just like your personality and your energy. Like somebody's going to be like, dang, like that's awesome. Like that's who I want to be or I want to, try to like pursue something like that. So it's just beautiful, right? We all have a story and all of our stories matter and they're all important. So so let's transition then into, okay, you graduate from Palmer College, okay, you get your doctorate in chiropractic. What happened after you graduated? Did you go right into like kind of like a normal practice? What was your career like in the beginning with chiropractic?
Yeah, so before I graduated, I moved out here because we can do an internship.
Which is the Colorado, right?
Yes, Colorado. Yeah. So I moved to Colorado.
Okay.
And
why? Did you meet some Coloradoans at chiropractic school and you're just like, oh, these are my people, I'm going, right? It was probably like that, wasn't it?
I mean, I already had people out here.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was either go to Wisconsin and I could buy that practice that I was working at.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Very cush. I could have, very easy.
Yeah.
Or there was this opportunity to live in Florida. Florida's so hot in the summer. And also a very good salaried position. And then we're like, well, we have friends out in Colorado. We've gone skiing out here like multiple times.
Yeah.
And we came out here in the summer to see what it was like in the summertime. I was like, yeah, I guess it's like pretty cool. And checked out a couple practices, and actually the practice that I'm in right now was a different practice.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yes. So how I ended up here is that I met the doctor who was at this practice, and I was like, yeah, I think this is a good fit. I like the neighborhood. And I was like, can I be your intern? And she's like, okay, like you'll start, and I don't know when I started. October or something of that year.
Awesome,
Yeah, so I was here interning and learning how to run the business side of it. But this practice that was here was more pediatric focused and like kids running around and screaming and all that jazz. So that was a learning curve for me. Because I don't hang out with kids often. But yeah, that's like how I ended up in Colorado is that I just came out here and I liked it and my husband and I could agree on this spot, so that's where we are. Cool.
Now, in terms of like, coming out to, the location we're in right now, your business, what was, so how long were you an intern? How long were you working with the doctor, the chiropractor that had this, this practice, how long were you in that before you transitioned into taking over and making it kind of your own business?
Yeah, so I was here for about 6 months, and then about 2 of those months was when I was actually a doctor and I could see my own patients.
Oh, okay.
So I was just like renting space and seeing my patients here.
Okay, yeah, awesome.
And the lease was coming up, and the doctor was like, "Hey, I'm gonna move down the road to this other office. It's like bigger, the rent is cheaper. Do you want to come with me?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, let me think about it." Because moving out here to Colorado, the plan was that I would be an associate or like a hired doctor for 2 to 3 years, build up my clientele, save up some money, and then open up a practice. So, like,
and then you just kicked the apple cart over and did your own thing, right?
And I did my own thing. Yeah,
that's good. Okay, so tell us how'd that happen.
So I came home one day because I was talking to one of my friends, and I was like, I just like don't know what to do, and they're like, you know what to do. They're like, you know that you're ready. And I went home and talked to my husband. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, should I move to this new office? I don't know. The next day I came home, I was like crying. I was like, I'm opening up my own practice. Like, I have to do it.
I love it. Now, okay. Is your husband like, is he like super mellow, super chill? Like,
he is the most mellow and chill.
Okay. I was gonna say, because he's got to be just like super like, okay, babe, like whatever you want, like that's cool.
He'll like, he's like, okay, like, if you think so.
Okay, yeah. That's what I was hoping, because I mean, if he's like you, man, that's some interesting dynamics. But that's cool.
Yeah, and because like the doctor I was working with was my mentor at the time.
Yeah.
And she came over to my house and she was like, Lindsay has got this. Like, she's fine. I'm gonna help her out like all the way. So that made my husband feel better about it.
Yeah.
And I just knew in my heart I couldn't work for anyone. Like, working in the same building with another doctor. With like kids running around.
Yeah.
That was like long enough for me.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so you decide that you're going to open up your own practice. Now you mentioned this other chiropractor. She was like very open and helping you with the transition. Is that kind of how things went? Did she really? It was a she, right?
Yeah.
Did she really kind of help you with the transition, and was it a pretty smooth transition? Just talk about, like, I really want to be serious in terms of digging into just like the entrepreneurship side of things, because again, a lot of my listeners, they got their 9 to 5 job, but then they're trying to grow this coaching business or this personal training business, something on the side. So just talk about just the entrepreneurship, maybe even though, it sounds like you had a pretty good setup in terms of a transition and a mentor there, but just even talk about maybe some of those fears that you did have, some of those anxieties that you did have, just saying like, well, this is going to be mine. So just a little bit more detail about that entrepreneurship and the steps that you took, the mentorship and things like that.
Yeah, I feel like it was a smooth transition to get the space to be my own. And then like after I opened up the doors and she moved on to her new practice, that was pretty much like the end of the mentorship. So I didn't really have a plan. Like, I was like, okay, I have an office. Patients will come in. And that was the plan. So it was like, it was smooth, but then like not really in my first month, when I'm like, oh shoot, like what do I do now?
Right.
And then that's when I just had to like force myself to learn how to do it. And I like to dive in like head first,
right?
as you can tell.
Yeah, of course.
So that's like, it just forced me to get out there and to network and like build everything up. And then the first like few months, I really didn't have a mentor or a coach. So then I think it was like August. I opened up in June, and it was August, and I was just like freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, my rent is so expensive, and like it's not like super consistent yet. And I got this new coach, and I was like telling my husband, I was like, I need to have this coach. Like, she's gonna help me, and she's very expensive, but I think it'll be worth it. And I like ended up working with her, and like 6 weeks into it, I fired her because I know I'm like the worst student. I swear I'm coachable, but like she wasn't in the area, and what she was telling me to do was not meshing at all with what my values are, and it was like so aggressive. So from like that mentor experience, I learned that I need to like take control of what my values are and really like go dive into the relationship building aspect of the practice. And like yes, it's more long-term, but it's so much more fulfilling, just like emotionally and long-term. And just also from that experience, I learned not to like make really quick decisions on things that are very expensive.
Yeah.
So, and that's just like not a coaching style that works for me.
Yeah. So, what were some of the fears, the anxieties in this transition process of, you know, working here under this other lady, and then when the keys, so to speak, are turned over to you, like just personally, internally, what were some of those fears? What were some of those anxieties? Because we all have them. And when you're taking a big step like this, even though, you know, even though the mentor's like, hey, she's ready for it, and you got the support of your husband, there's still internal, you know, self-talk that we're going to struggle with, and fears and anxiety. So what was some of that at that time, if you can remember, that you really had to kind of like work through?
Yeah, I mean, like being a new doctor, that's like a whole mindset to get over, because I was a student for my entire life, and now all of a sudden I'm the doctor, I'm the owner, I am doing literally everything. I'm in charge of like paying myself, I'm in charge of doing taxes, I'm in charge of marketing, and like very overwhelming if you are not like set up to do it right away. And like I just chose to learn as I go. So like, yeah, that was definitely a struggle. And like knowing I have to pay rent next month, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really hope I get a patient.
Right.
And not having that plan. So like, yeah, that was like very stressful the first couple months. But then I just had to like sit down and like slow down a little bit and actually like have some intention behind what I'm doing.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, it goes back to that word again. It's just keeps on like revolving in my life about how I'm actually going to grow this, and like why am I doing this?
Right.
And also with like being a new doctor, like having that confidence, and anyone who's coming out of school into a new job, like it's probably something a lot of people go through. Like, well, why would you listen to me? Like, I'm brand new. And like people look at me, they're like, how old are you? Are you even old enough to be a doctor? I'm like, yeah, I am.
Imposter syndrome, right?
Yes,
like I think most of us at different seasons of life and in different situations, like when I became a school teacher, I'm like, am I I've got my badge, I can get in the school, but like I don't like to use that word imposter syndrome, because that's what, you know, it's kind of like a buzzword, but it is the truth though. Like I was a school teacher, and I'm like it's just weird, because like I go to school for my whole life, and then it's like you kind of have, as a student, you see professors and teachers through a certain light, right? And then it's like, then I'm a teacher, and kids are calling me Mr. Q, and I'm like, and they're asking me for like advice, and I'm like, dude, like what, like it's weird. So was that kind of like what you were experiencing a little bit?
Yeah, it's like weird. And when you're in school and you're seeing people in the clinic, like you have someone to talk to.
Yeah,
like, what's going on? And it's me. I'm like, yeah, this is the plan. And I feel like the first like couple months was just like also learning like how I wanted to treat my patients and like how to incorporate everything that I like to do.
Yeah.
Because I was taught to do it one way, and when I tried to do it, it was failed miserably.
Imagine that.
I know.
Lindsay's gonna go back to doing it her way, but it's good though, and we're laughing and stuff. But like seriously, like that's how I am. It's like, I mean, I don't like it when people. I want to figure things out on my own. I don't want somebody to say, Q, like this is the way that you need to do it. I want to figure it out on my own. Like it's something inside, and the reason why like I'm joking with you so much is because like I'm the exact same, like I'm a rebel, like I have a rebel spirit, and I'm a free spirit, and I'm free. I grew up free range, like roaming around out in the woods playing cowboys and Indians in Iowa, right? And still in adulthood, it's just like I want to figure things out on my own. I don't want to copy anybody else. If somebody tells me this is the way it has to be done, just because you told me that's the way it has to be done, I'm not going to do it that way.
I know.
And I don't know, but I do know because I've done some research, and there's a lot of different personality things, but like I have a rebel spirit, and I know you do too. So just like, so continue in terms of like, this is kind of the way you're supposed to do it or you're taught, but then, no surprise, you kind of took a different detour, which there's nothing wrong with that. And I think for the listeners listening to this, like we're having a lot of fun, a great conversation, but it's okay to figure out what your values are and to move in that direction. Just because your social media guru or your personal coach that you hired, or your parents or your significant others, like maybe they're not fully like understanding what direction you're going. If that's the direction in your heart you believe, and if you're a person of faith like I am, like you feel like God's leading you in that direction, it's okay if everybody doesn't agree, right?
Oh,
so I want you to continue on speaking about that, because again, listeners, and just as human beings, Lindsay, you know, like we crave like comfort, we crave like structure, we crave like, you know, being accepted, and we want to be loved, and we want everybody to, you know, reap our praises. But like at the end of the day, like we have to look ourselves in the mirror, especially as professionals and things like that. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's our lives, it's our legacy, it's like our business. It's like, what do I want?
Yes.
So just continue to speak on that.
Oh my gosh. And like, thank God for my husband for being so chill and understanding, because sometimes he'll be like, I don't really understand why you're doing the things that you do. And I'm like, there is a reason behind what I'm doing. And like, I know it's hard to like understand it now, but I have a very big vision in front of me. So like, yeah, this might have nothing to do with chiropractic at the moment, but it is leading to like something else. And so like in the coaching that I was doing, I had to fire her after 6 weeks. Because, well, yeah, I think we only had 2 more weeks left after that, like one-on-one, but I was just like done with it, because
you're over it.
I was just over it. And like, I'm still in that coaching group, and there still is like some good content to learn from it. But when it's like someone telling you like, this is what you need to say in order to get people to like sign up for this, and like, this is what you need to do in order to do this, and like, you need to price it like this in order to do this, and I'm like, why? I'm like, well, what's your reasoning behind that? And I feel like I wasn't questioning enough. I mean, I question a lot, but I wasn't questioning enough. So I don't know, you just have to like question, like, why are people telling you to do these things, and like, what is their experience? And I feel like this coach, like, she was fine, but she's been out of practice for 10 years. Like, why am I listening to someone who hasn't even been in practice for 10 years? I'd be better off like asking my chiropractic friend down the road like a question. So and like what I do in my office is a little bit different than what traditional chiropractors do, and it's hard to get that message across, and people don't really fully understand it, that I'm trying to help you build a lifestyle. I'm not just like trying to get you out of pain. And people will question that, like, well, why do I need to come in and see you like this? And like, why do I have to do this? And like, because it's all part of the process. Like, trust me. Because now I'm very confident in like my skills and like what I'm teaching people.
Of course.
So, and if I don't know anything, I'll learn about it. And I just am like very open about that. So just like keep on questioning, and you know, you can keep on questioning yourself. I'm not on like a linear path, and like I feel like I know where I want to go, but like who knows?
For sure. Now, speak on, because we're going to get into how you are different and how you do it here at your office, because I'm, you know, very interested in that. But speak on how you've developed your values, because that's something you've used that word a couple times, and I think I know that our own personal values and the way, again, that we view ourselves and how we're living our lives, that obviously is going to play hugely into our business and our brand and our success, right? So how did you formulate your values? How did you do that? And if you don't mind sharing like what your values are, you know, I would love to hear that.
Well, I think I form my values based off of things that I don't like.
Okay.
So like number one value, it has to be fun. And that's literally in all aspects of my life, and especially in my practice. And we can dive into that a little bit later. And also just knowing like my self-worth and my self-value, because in this like very competitive market, it's easy to undercut your prices and just try to get people through the door.
Of course.
And I just feel like that's disvaluing my services. It's not putting value towards a profession. You're not valuing like anything that you're like putting out into the world if you just like cheapen it, because it just takes it all away.
Of course. Yeah.
And then also, I just think like another value of mine is just being like very independent, and you are in charge of like your own destiny, and I guide people into better health, but they are their own person. They're independent on what they do. The other 23 hours and 57 seconds, I don't see them during the day. So I try to instill that on my patients. Like, you are your own person and you do what you want to do. I'm just here to like guide and help you.
For sure.
So those are like my 3 big ones.
Cool. Beautiful. All right. So let's transition into just kind of like your specific practice. How do you, so I want you to just talk about, because like, again, like I've had a lot of chiropractic experiences. I've had quite a few chiropractors on the podcast. we kind of laughed and joked earlier about, just walk in, crack, pop, pay, and walk out. That's been a lot of my experiences growing up. And I think that, like what you were just talking about, and then you talked about lowering the prices, and it's about the numbers, and it's not about the person. So talk about I'm going to use this word, experience. So if somebody steps into Elite Chiropractic and Wellness, all right, what experience are you trying to create, and what experience are they going to have here? And I really want you to talk about, kind of like the nuts and bolts of like how you do your practice. How do you, in terms of, being a practitioner, like what does it look like? Are you going to have like the x-ray or like all of that different stuff? And I want you to really focus on how you're different, how you've separated yourself from, what a lot of people think about chiropractors. Again, walk in, crack, pop, pay, and leave. Okay. So just you stand on your soapbox and just kind of preach and share like why you're different, what the experience is here, what you're trying to create, and things like that, if you don't mind.
That's funny you call it an experience, because I actually call it the new patient experience.
Yep. Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
So when you walk into the door, my furry little sidekick, Layla, my Bernese Mountain Dog, she greets you at the door, which is amazing, because who doesn't want to be greeted by a cute little dog?
Very, very Colorado.
Yes, very Colorado me, staying on brand.
Yeah.
We're just like, welcome. We put your name on the welcome board, and I am genuinely happy to see you, because I'm so happy that you are taking charge of your health, and what prompted you to do that today. So, so we started with make them feel very welcome, and the whole vibe of the place is to make a community feel, and to just really let people know that you can hang out here after your appointment. You don't have to leave. We have some chairs to hang out in. We've got your tea, we've got your water, we've got snacks for you. So it's kind of like a clubhouse. And that's number one vibe I want to get across, and that it's a calm, but it's fun.
Of course, I was just gonna say a fun clubhouse.
Yeah, fun clubhouse.
So yeah.
So when we step into a new patient consultation, and me diving into why you're here, of course I want to know what's causing you pain, and go through the whole history of pain. And then we also dive into a full review of systems in your entire body, because a lot of people don't know that chiropractic influences every single function still, your cells, your muscles, every single thing in your body. So a lot of people don't know that, which is totally fine. Chiropractors need to do a better job of telling people. So we review all of that, and then make that connection that hey, your body, you only have one body, and you're experiencing these symptoms already, so what can we do to help you? And then I really dive into that mindset portion of it, and how the stress in your life may be contributing to the pains that you're feeling. And at that point, we might get really sidetracked and dive into more mindset and stress causing things. And then I always wrap it up with goals. So a lot of people's goals are I want to be healthy, I want to be more flexible, I want more life work balance, or I want to be able to run a marathon. And those are the common ones. So if you were to say that to me, I'm okay, so you ran a marathon, big deal, how does your life change because of that? And people don't really, they're I don't know. I'm well, are you in better shape? Are you able to hang out with your grandkids more? Do you feel you have more energy? That's cool, you ran a marathon, but how does that change anything else in your life? So a lot of times when we talk about goals, we just have this arbitrary goal of this is what I want to do, and then check it off the list. But I think you really need to dive deeper, and what is the impact overall? And that's where the holistic view comes in, as in, is this going to improve your relationships with your family? Is it going to make you sleep better? And it's just looking at it as a bigger picture. Yeah. And then
go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
And then we do another exam. So this is one thing so I would say that's unique about the practice. Another thing I do, I use computers a lot. To actually identify how your body is functioning. So we look at your nervous system, your muscle function, and your stress levels. So that's a thing that a lot of chiropractors do not have in their office. And with objective findings, it's really easy for me to show you hey, this is what's happening in your body, and this is why you feel the way that you do. And one really fun one that we do is the stress test. And it kind of tells you if you're always in that fight or flight mode and ready to be attacked at all times, or if you're more like chill. Also, it gives us a range of like how much energy you have in your body, and if your body's actually like able to heal itself, or if you are literally just running on fumes and the next thing that stresses you out is going to like make you break. So it's a very like in-depth analysis of the whole person. So yeah, like putting together like our conversation that I have, the data that I have, like other physical exam that I do, then I can actually get like a well-rounded holistic approach like set up for a patient. So of course, like chiropractic care, I do dry needling, I do cupping.
Oh, cool.
Since I wanted to be a physical therapist for so long, I have a lot of physical therapy like background as being an assistant. So we incorporate a lot of home exercises.
Awesome, yeah.
Yep, and I am like a biomechanics nerd, so they're like, this hurts, like my right hip hurts, but like then my left shoulder is hurting. I was like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's probably because like this muscle's pulling here and this is pulling here, and it's a fun little puzzle to figure out.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I feel like that's the appointment times are also longer with me. Like I said, they're like a lot of times it's like pop, crack, pay, and you're in and out like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
My appointments are like 10-ish minutes long, 10 to 15, so we can actually go through like some range of motion, go through some exercises, some soft tissue. We have time to talk, like if you want to talk about anything.
Yeah.
So I just try to like really make it more like individual, personalized. There's usually only a couple people in here at a time, so that you feel like it is a safe spot to open up.
Of course. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, I said we're gonna come back to this, and it's just organically coming to it right now. But I want to talk about stress, right?
Yeah.
And with the stress, then also kind of like the mindset. I already talked about Dr. Amy, and we talked about this last week on the podcast. But there's because a lot of my personal training clients where I'm at right now are seniors. So it's mostly it's knee pain, it's shoulder pain, it's low back pain. Like those are like kind of the three areas, right? Especially for people, seniors, people 60s, 70s, 80 years old, right? And we touched on this again with Dr. Amy, but just like, so talk about stress and talk about mindset and how that type of stuff. And then also, again, so let's just kind of take that holistic approach. So we got the stress, we've got our mindset, like the stories we've been telling ourselves, like you hurt your back, like you mentioned, like you hurt your back in like middle school playing basketball. Then it's like you're so up until the point where you got to adjust it. It's like I've got to be careful with my back. My back might pop out. And so it's like this. We're conditioning our brain for that specific area to hurt, so it's always going to hurt, right? So, but then also I want you to touch on, again, like the nutrition, and like the importance of sleep and recovery. So just kind of however you want to kind of like navigate that. Lindsay, just talk about the importance of us not just focusing on low back pain, but focusing on, these stresses, okay? What we're eating, what we're thinking about in terms of the pain, again, just like recovery. Are we going to a physical therapist? Are we getting massage? Are we getting, some of these other modalities that are out there? So just talk about how it's more than just, a singular pain in our low back or our neck.
Yeah. So in chiropractic, we talk a lot about the 3 T's, 3 like toxins basically. So there's like physical, emotional, and chemical. So physical, that would go into like how stress in your body is showing up as pain. And like emotional part of that, if you're like constantly stressed out, this is like woo-woo, but everything has an energy to it. And when you have this stressed energy and you don't have an outlet for it to go, people tend to store it either up in their shoulders, in their lower back, or even sometimes up in their neck and like head area, and then like causes like a lot of chronic headaches. And then when you tie nutrition into that, and people are stressed because they're not feeling good, I can't move because my back hurts, and I'm going to stay at home and eat a pizza because what else can I do?
Yeah.
So it's just like more toxins getting into your body, and those toxins need to go somewhere. And until they're like physically released, either by like an adjustment or from a massage or from sweating it out, like you're just building up all this toxicity within your body and this like negative energy within you, and it has nowhere to go. So you want to start, I start with like the physical for the most part and like get you out of pain because that's what most people come in for.
Of course.
And then like at the same time, that's why we talk about the mindset. I'm like, well, what is causing you so much stress in your life that you are in so much pain right now? And and like working through those two at the same time, I feel like has a really good benefit for people to get out of pain like fairly quickly. And also you'll notice people who are in pain probably aren't in a good mood all the time.
Right.
So you'll see like a mood shift pretty like quickly after someone is out of physical pain. So then when you get that like positive mindset going and you like dive into more nutrition, you're probably more likely to make better nutrition choices if you're like feeling good about yourself and you're in like a positive mindset. But I can also like coach people through like, what are you eating right now and what's causing like toxicity in your body. And we can do like specific testing for that so that we can actually identify like what you're eating, if it's helping you or hurting you.
Right.
Because with like all three of those, you're either helping yourself or hurting yourself. And it's like up to you what you want to do.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Cool. So why so if you were standing on a stage and speaking to people, trying to sell them or persuade them or encourage them, however, there's different connotations that are tied to some of those words, but whatever word you would want to use, if you're standing on a stage and you have an opportunity to talk about not just your specific practice or your business, Elite Chiropractic and wellness, but if you were standing on a stage and you had an opportunity to share about chiropractic in general, like what would be that selling point, or like what would you really try to hit home in terms of why people need to have regular adjustments as a part of their life so that they can be, healthier, stronger, better, things like that?
Well, I think like now more than ever with the coronavirus thing, people are really like taking inventory of their health,
of course,
overall health. So with chiropractic, it's more than like the pops and the cracks. It's literally a lifestyle of making better choices for yourself and like figuring out what your ideal healthy lifestyle is. And you can go out and like, if you crash a car, you can go buy a new one. If your house burns down, you can build a new one. If your body breaks down, like that's it.
Of course.
Yeah. So my approach and like my philosophy is that it's better to keep yourself healthy and keep yourself active, have good nutrition, have a good mindset. It's better than like waiting for it to break down and having to rebuild it all over again, because that's hard. Of course, you'll get to a point where like you can only replace so many joints in your body so many times, and you can only be like held back in life so many times before like a depression sinks in and before like weight gain because you're not taking care of yourself. And then that just starts to spiral really out of control.
Of course.
Yeah. So it's really just about like finding your lifestyle and your healthiest and best lifestyle for yourself through the holistic chiropractic approach.
Right. So why, if somebody has never been to a chiropractor, why would they need to, or why would you encourage them to incorporate chiropractic into their life? You know what I mean? Because like there's physical therapists, there's us personal trainers, there's this, there's that, there's so much stuff, obviously, and whatever we kind of are in, whatever our niche is, we're gonna hopefully be passionate about it, and we're gonna really try to sell it. And I don't want to say push it, but like that's our jam, right? Like I'm a personal trainer. Like this is why you need personal training. Now my perspective is you also need massage, you also need chiropractic. There's a lot more than just coming to the gym and having a trainer put you through a workout. But for the people that are out there, just like, why though? Like I've never been to a chiropractor, which that blows my mind, but I've never been to a chiropractor. It's a lot of money. I can, the nutrition and the exercise and all that, I can figure that out on YouTube, or I've already got a personal trainer. Why do I need to at least make an effort to see a chiropractor when I've never seen one, and I really don't have any pain?
I feel like chiropractic is the foundation of the rest of your lifestyle habits. So you should do chiropractic and then the personal training and the massage and the physical therapy and the like energy work, whatever, because chiropractic is all about alignment. So yes, we work on the spine. I specifically also work on like ankles and knees and shoulders and elbows and all that jazz. So if you have a client and their squat is terrible and they physically like are having difficulty because there's misalignments happening in their spine, or they're having pain because of that, like they'll have a better squat form and they'll get better gains and they'll be in less pain doing it if their whole spine is in alignment. And like same with massage, you can massage a muscle like until the, you know, all day, every day, but it's going to go back into its tight position unless you put the bones into the correct place so that the muscles can follow that, and it'll take the muscle tension off. So it's really all about the alignment that you get from chiropractic. That is the foundation for all the other things that you do.
Very well put. That's good. Okay, now I want to touch on, and we've been going for an hour 19 minutes, so we'll start kind of heading towards the finish line. But there's a few more things I want to touch on before we wrap it up. So, like misconceptions and myths, right? So I've literally talked to people, you know, whether it's at the gym or just whatever in life. And again, like I'm coming from the perspective of I'm a huge proponent of chiropractic work. I've been going to a chiropractor since I was a kid, right? So like I know the value of it, but I've literally talked to people where they're like, you know, oh, I heard that, you know, a chiropractor like, you know, snapped somebody's neck and they died.
Yeah.
You know, like I've literally had a couple people when I'm saying like, hey, you know, have you ever, like I'm talking like personal training clients. I'm like, hey, like, you know, do you ever go to the chiropractor, or, you know, yada, yada, yada. Oh no, like this. So there's a lot of myths. There's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of like, you know, people that, and rightly so, just like any other profession, there's great, there's okay, there's horrible. So there probably have been some bad chiropractors that have, you know, and people have had some bad experiences, but that's in any profession, right? But can you maybe touch on, you know, some of the misconceptions, some of the myths, some of maybe, you know, some of the things in terms of like people are like, you know, this is why I don't go to the chiropractor. Maybe some of the hindrances that people have even stepping in the door. Just maybe clarify some of that. Share some of your experiences of, you know, people giving you some flack about being a chiropractor. And you're like,
totally.
Why that's just not even legit, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good point. Are you even a real doctor? Yes, I am.
I've heard that one, yep.
Yes, I have just as much medical school training as an MD, even more in like neurology. But yeah, so you're talking about, someone got their neck adjusted and then they died.
Yeah, like I literally had somebody say I don't go to the chiropractor because they knew of somebody or heard somebody that got their neck snapped and then they died or something. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know about that, but...
So, in that case, I would say that the doctor wasn't being very diligent about signs and symptoms that this person was showing about a stroke or, like, whatever was happening in progress, because more than likely this patient probably already had some symptoms of that, and they probably should have been adjusted. So, and maybe the patient wasn't really communicating as well as to, like, what they were experiencing. It's literally, like, a 1 in a million chances that would ever happen.
Right.
Yeah. Number 2 is, what's the other one? Oh, once you go to a chiropractor, you have to go forever.
Right, yeah.
That's like another one I hear. I'm like, you can do whatever you want. Like, I'm like, if you want to stay out of pain, like, I imagine that you would keep on working out and you would keep on doing massages and like personal training. I'm like, don't you also think it's good to like keep your body functioning and have a solid foundation? Like, just my opinion, but like, you know, you have one body. I would think you'd want to take care of it. So you can keep coming forever if you want or not. And like, people always think like, I have to see you like 4 times a week for 4 months. And I mean, maybe in some practices, but that's not how I practice. Like,
good. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. I'm like, I want to get you out of pain and like, let's just get you onto like wellness like soon. So that's my philosophy about that. And then also another one is that we're only good for neck and back pain. That's like probably number 1 thing that I hear as well. And yes, that's like our bread and butter. However, it also goes into like headaches, digestive system, asthma. I work with a lot of golfers, tennis players, runners, like people who are very active, because we can also treat like ankles and elbows and wrists and everything else in the body. Right. And then another thing I hear is that I'm gonna have to like do all these supplements and do all this stuff. Like, I'm not a supplement slinger, so
that's good too. Yeah.
That's like not like my strong suit, so I can like guide you to someone else who can do that for you.
Right.
I just like try to stay in my lane and educate you on what you can do. So
cool.
Those are probably like the top things that I hear.
Good deal. Okay, so yoga is something too. As I was kind of preparing for our conversation, I noticed that yoga's important in your own I think personal fitness, and it's something that's just big in your life and your lifestyle. So just touch on yoga. Maybe like, when did you come across yoga? What did it do for you personally? And then just maybe the importance of and I don't do yoga, but like I know we're right next to Stretch Lab out here in is Cherry Hills?
Yes.
Yeah. So Cherry Hills, a Stretch Lab is in the same strip mall as where you're located. I'm a part of a member at Stretch Lab in Lodi, so I'm a huge proponent, and people that have listened to the podcast, some other episodes have probably heard me talk about, just stretching and Stretch Lab. We even have the GM of Stretch Lab Lodi on here. So just the importance of yoga for you personally. How did you discover it? What did it do for you? What does it do for you? And just the importance, maybe not specifically of yoga, but just having some sort of stretching, mobility, flexibility practice in your life for, health, wellness, and fitness.
Yeah, I was introduced to yoga when I was working at that chiropractic office.
Cool.
And I was being the office manager. There's a studio right across the street. And this lady came in and she's like, "Oh, such a good yoga class. You should go try it." And I was like, okay, I mean, why not? So I started getting adjusted. I went to one yoga class, and like a week later, that also helped with my back pain. So I was like, oh my gosh, yoga is amazing. I'm in less pain. And I remember going to this one specific class, and I just had this like really light feeling after I left. And it was so like meditative, and I was so energized. And that's probably like my 5th yoga class, and I was hooked. I'm like, I love yoga. Like, this is my jam.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't even know, like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I'm not really sure how long ago, but yeah, that's pretty much like how I got hooked. I just had like one amazing experience. I do like a yoga flow, like vinyasa.
Yeah.
And we're also next to Core Power. So
I
keep up with my yoga practice because I hop next door for the 2-second commute. It's such good cardio, and it's also good for the flexibility and mobility. A lot of times we get caught up on flexibility instead of mobility. It's just two different things.
Yeah,
so,
I want you to touch on that, please.
Yeah, so like flexibility is more like how much you can stretch your muscles out, like how much you can lengthen out your like hamstrings, your quads, whatever. And then mobility is more like joint motion. So like being able to bend your ankles through a full range of motion, your hips, your spine. A lot of people lack mobility because they're just not moving. And then your muscles tend to get very tight.
Right.
And then you're lacking flexibility at the same time. Then this turns into instability in some places in your body. And then that turns into pain. See, it's all very related.
Of course it is. Yeah.
So that's why I also incorporate mobility into my programs that I do.
Cool. Now, I want to ask you something. So, like, all of my clients, personal and training clients that are able, stretching is I believe stretching is a very neglected part of fitness. I think a lot of people, especially if you grew up playing sports, is like, back in the day, is like you stretch before practice, you stretch after, but most of the time we would only stretch before practice because our coaches were making us, or they were watching us after practice done. It's like, screw that, I'm going home, right? But I think most people, generally speaking, understand that like stretching is maybe something they're supposed to be doing, but 99.9% of people, they don't do it. And I see it through my senior population because they're so stiff, and it's a compound effect of a lot of things. But my question for you, Lindsay, is that if they can do it, I have all my clients, at least before they leave, we're going to stretch out their hamstrings. And this is what I tell them. I tell them, because again, low back pain or back pain is a huge thing. Again, specifically low back. I'm like, okay, this is kind of like my selling point to them in terms of why we're going to at least do a hamstring stretch before they leave, and why I encourage them to do a hamstring stretch at home is because the hamstrings, are tied into the glutes. The glutes are tied into the low back. Everything, that whole posterior chain is tied in. And a lot of times, because we're so sedentary, especially seniors, we're sitting down, our posterior chain, our glutes, aren't firing, they get tight, our hamstrings get tight. So if we can stretch out your hamstrings, that's going to stretch out the glutes, that's going to stretch out that low back. And even when you're doing a hamstring stretch, you're kind of like bending over, you're stretching out that low back too, like kind of directly as well. So that's kind of like my selling point with my clients in terms of like specifically focusing on those hamstrings, because we sit so much, things get tight. Do you feel like that's correct information, or is there maybe something else that I should be sharing with them, or something else that I could be doing for maybe just one stretch in the terms of like if you could just do this one stretch, this will go a long ways in loosening up maybe that lower body area.
I would also throw in a hip flexor stretch.
Okay.
Because their hips are probably also tight and rotating their pelvis, and then that's going to influence some of the hamstring tightness and glute activation. Or I just like to do like a deep squat into like a forward fold. So then you're getting like all mobility of the ankles, the hips. You get to stand up, reach down, and touch your toes, so you're getting the hamstring stretch as well as a low back stretch.
Okay,
so
cool.
That's a really good move too.
Okay, cool. Now let's touch on in terms of kind of like where you want to take Elite, your practice, your business. You said you have some like really big goals and dreams, and you want it to be kind of like national and even worldwide. Like what? Is your vision, is your goal, is your dream to kind of like have, it be like some sort of like a chain, like have other chiropractors become a part of Elite, you kind of train them, they go open up their own businesses, their own spots? Do you kind of just want to keep it small in the sense of like it's just kind of your baby and you just continue to grow it? What does that kind of look like in terms of Elite and how you want to grow your business?
Yeah, so I want Elite to be like the place to go for chiropractic care. Like no matter where you are, I want people to be like, oh yeah, did you hear about that doctor in Colorado somewhere who does this and this and this? Like my friend flies out to see her. So like that's like my big vision, is that I want to educate the whole world basically on why chiropractic should be your foundation, and how we incorporate the physical aspect and the mindset aspect, and how this is more than just one treatment. It's like educating people on how to build a better lifestyle. Like that's really what the message I want to get across to people is like, it's a lifestyle.
Right.
So like I want to expand. There's an office space open on the other side. So eventually I want to like expand this office and then have like a team that I can grow, and then they can start to like branch out into other locations. But I'm kind of like a control freak now, so I have to make sure that like everything's operating how it should.
Of course.
And then I would just like love to go out and educate, be the marketing person, be speaking on the stages and getting the word out. But then also like I want to come back here and see my patients, because I love my patients.
Of course.
I still want to be in here like treating them, because they're like my foundation. They're like how I got started, and I'm like so grateful for them, and I just like keep on learning from them, and they're so encouraging for me as well. So I just like want to still keep that connection.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you about like X-rays.
Yeah.
You don't do X-rays here, do you?
I don't. I send people to health images.
Okay, so all right. I just, there's this, so I've had so many different chiropractic experiences, and I'm thinking of one specifically when I lived down in Colorado Springs. Like there was like, I know now that I look back, like it was a sales funnel, right?
Yeah.
Like at the time I didn't really, because I really hadn't had that experience, but now looking back, and I was supposed to go there more, and I didn't, because I just didn't like it. Like I just didn't vibe.
Yeah.
I just didn't like their experience, right? But looking back, I'm like, okay, that was like a very clear sales process of like, okay, they usher you in, there's the upsell, there's this. And I'm just like, so that whole like sales funnel in terms of like personal training, chiropractic, massage, like that bothers me, right? Because like I genuinely personally want to, in terms of personal training and health and all that, like I genuinely want to help somebody. And obviously different people have different agendas when they get into things. Maybe they start with maybe a good heart or something, but money can change people and things like that, right? So for me, like I've always viewed this, and a part of this sales funnel of this chiropractor down in Colorado Springs, where I was living the last couple of years, was the x-rays. Mm-hmm. And back home in my hometown of Cherokee, I went to a chiropractor there, and they were going to, it was going to cost a bunch of money, and they're going to do x-rays. I'm like, I don't need x-rays. Mm-hmm. I just want to walk in, and I want you to pop my back, because that's been most of my experience, right? Mm-hmm. And I leave. I don't need all this extra stuff. What's your personal viewpoint in terms of like getting x-rays to be treated in chiropractic?
Yeah, so I only send people out for x-rays if I'm doing their physical exam and there's some kind of red flag that pops up, okay. Or if they're having this like chronic issue and they've tried everything else. I'm like, mm-hmm. Okay, like maybe there is actually something like physically stopping your spine from being in alignment. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's a very small percentage of my population. And then I'll send out people for x-rays if they've been in an auto accident. Right. Because that's like a time where people can be like, I don't really feel any pain, but mm-hmm. you can actually have like more damage than you would think. Right. So in like those two instances is where I would send you out for x-rays. But generally, most people are in really good health. And as long as everything else that I do and test on them is mm-hmm. good to go, then I don't do x-rays. So
are you saying then that x-rays in a chiropractic office put somebody to say, this is part of our process here at this clinic, and obviously I know you're going to probably be politically correct, so that's fine, but just from your own perspective, to go to a chiropractic office and to be made to have an x-ray or x-rays in order to get adjusted, is that necessary?
Well, I have two opinions on that.
Okay.
So yes and no, because yes, some techniques do require an x-ray, because we will actually like measure curves on your spine and like measure things on the spine mm-hmm. as like a before and after, and that actually does guide your treatment. Okay. And then no, it might not be necessary, but x-ray machines are very expensive, so someone has to pay for them.
Right. Yeah. And there's radiation involved too, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
There was an x-ray in here before, and I just didn't keep it. So
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one other thing, and I hope you don't mind me asking. I hope you don't mind me asking these questions. But these are going to be when people are listening. We've all had a lot of different. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have had a lot of different experience with chiropractors, and there's excellent, there's okay, and then there's just sucky ones, right? So that's why I'm just asking you some of these questions, because these are going to be questions that people have when they're listening. Like why? Like if they're out here in this Denver area, like, why do I need to go to Elite? Why do I need to go see Dr. Lindsay? So it's an opportunity for you to kind of just like, hey, like this is why. But okay, so like again, a lot of my experiences in chiropractic: walk in, crack pot, pay, and walk out. Now, like so. I guess what I'm trying to get at is like a lot of times, like I feel like for me personally, because I am like I take care of my nutrition. I'm taking care of myself, right? I don't feel like I need to go through this whole holistic approach. I don't need to have like the 15-minute free consultation, because I'm already doing what you're gonna tell me to do, right? Right. I'm taking care of myself. So if somebody may be in my position. So I feel like a lot of times, like what I really want is like I really just want to walk in and have them adjust me, mm-hmm. and I want to pay and I want to walk out. Yeah. So speak on that, because all the chiropractors that I've had on here, and I agree 100%, like that a holistic approach, that is the right way to do things. Mm-hmm. At least allow your patient or your client to talk to you and share kind of where they're coming from. So like for me, if you say, okay, Q, like, how's your lifestyle? Like, okay, this is my nutrition. Okay, then maybe it'll be a 2-minute, consultation, not 15, right. Because you don't need to go through all that. It's a waste of time. Mm-hmm. And it's a waste of your time and my time. So, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, obviously chiropractors can practice however they want, but it's not necessary really to go through that whole holistic, approach when you kind of know that client or that patient is kind of already doing what they need to do outside of coming in and getting an adjustment. Is that fair to say? Or what's your perspective? Because I feel like a lot of times I just want to walk in and get adjusted. I don't want to go through this whole spiel, because like I'm already doing what I know I need to do.
Right.
So just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, from my point of view, yes, you would be a wellness patient, but if we don't sit down and have a conversation, I'm not really going to understand what your goals are. I'm not really going to understand any struggles that you have or what your goals are. So yeah, you can walk in and be in and out really quickly, but I don't think that I'm going to give you the best care and be your best guide to help if I don't understand you. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's very good. Okay, so let's wrap things up. I saw something on your website in terms of walk with a doc. What is that? I guess I read a little bit and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna write that down, and if I have an opportunity to talk about it, because it seems like it's something here local in the Denver area. It seemed like it was something cool. What is that?
Yeah, so I do walk with a doctor once a Saturday. It was actually supposed to be today, but due to coronavirus, we canceled it.
That's a good call.
Yeah, so we walk over at Southmore Park one Saturday a month, and yeah, do you know where that is?
I don't.
Okay, it's right. It's in the Cherry Hills neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
So I talk about something health related for about 10 minutes or so. I have a really awesome group of regulars that come with me. They're mostly senior citizens.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So what did I talk about last month? Something, I don't even know what I talked about, but we have an interactive discussion, and then the whole point is to get them active. So we take a couple laps around the park.
Cool.
Oh, it was dangerous last month because it's so icy.
Yeah. February. Yeah, February is.
Oh yeah, it was kind of dangerous. But and then at the end we do a little yoga session, and we stretch it out. And I work more on balance with them and nothing too crazy because we are at the park.
Right.
And it's a way for me to just build up another community in the area and get the seniors involved and have them interacting with each other, because there's definitely a group of them that go to every single walk with a doc, and it's so cool to see that community, and I'm happy to contribute.
Cool. Now this walk with a doc, that's just with you specifically, right? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. And is that something that anybody's invited to? Just share a little bit more, because this is going to come out here in a couple weeks or whatever, and hopefully the coronavirus thing will, steady out here eventually. But so somebody's going to be listening to this down the road and they live in the area and they want to get connected with that. How can somebody get connected with that?
Yes. So everyone is welcome and invited. You can go on to, just walkwithadoc.org.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually a national organization.
Oh, cool.
And then our Denver branch, we have a walk every weekend. So I do Cherry Hills. There's one usually at Bible Park right up the road. Cheeseman Park, something on Sloan's Lake.
Oh, cool.
So we try to cover all the areas.
Awesome.
And there's a different doctor at each location.
Okay.
Also, if you are a healthcare professional, you are more than welcome to be a guest speaker at any time, because I love to have guest speakers there.
Yeah, cool.
And the crowd loves it. And we have coffee, we have snacks, we have fruit, we chat, and you learn a little something, you get some fresh air. It's a good way to start your Saturday morning. Yeah.
Love it. That's cool. I just saw that on your website. I was like, I wonder what that is. I never heard of it. So cool. Okay. So, Lindsay, obviously we've had a fun, thorough conversation. We touched on a lot of different things. So, is there anything, I just kind of want to give you the platform. If there's something that, you kind of wish I would have asked you, or something we would have touched on, maybe there's just kind of that message you want to leave with the listeners. Maybe there's something that's just been burning in your heart and you just kind of want to put it out there. Any final words, any kind of last message, anything you want to wrap up and leave with myself and the listeners?
Yeah, I think a lot of the people you have on here and people who listen are probably entrepreneurs, and it can be really scary, but you just gotta keep going. And if your heart is on fire with it and you make mistakes, keep going. For sure. Yeah. Cool. Beautiful. Okay, so last question: what sets your soul on fire? Being a rebel. I should have known that was coming. That's very good. Being a rebel. Being a rebel. I love to inspire and I love to motivate. That's what gets me going every day. Cool. If people want to find out more about Elite, if people want to find out more about you, if they want to find out more just about your story and follow along, connect, come and get a consultation, all those different things, where can people find out more about you, find out more about Elite, website, social media, where can you send them? Yes. Okay. So website is elitechiropracticdenver.com. Social media, Facebook is Elite Chiropractic Denver. Just do the little @ symbol. And then also on Instagram at Elite Chiropractic Denver. I pretty much post something every day, something in the stories, something to like motivate you, educational, fitness, nutrition, something silly once in a while. You'll probably see my dog on there.
Cool.
So you can find me on there, and then set up a consultation. You can give me a call or schedule online from my website. So 720-509-9379 or elitechiropracticdenver.com. You can schedule online. And if you mention the podcast, you can get $50 off of your new patient experience.
That's cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. So mention that, and it's definitely an experience, so you don't want to miss it.
Sweet. Yeah, that's good. All right. So, Lindsay, I just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule just to share your story. Come on and share your heart and your passion. It's greatly appreciated. I'm looking forward to just getting this out to my listeners, to my audience, and just again sharing that passion and just your experience getting that out to the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
For sure. So 127 Fit podcast listeners, once again, I just want to thank you for your listening ears. They're greatly appreciated. If you would like to find out more about the guests that I'm bringing onto the podcast, or if you would like to find out more about myself personally, you can find all of that information on Instagram, and that is at 127fit. Facebook is at Quentin Vars. LinkedIn is at Quentin Vars. If you guys would do me a huge favor and please leave a 5-star rating and review, and also subscribe to the podcast, that would be super cool, especially if you're listening to this in the iTunes Apple Podcast app. That's kind of like the #1 platform for podcasts. So again, just leave a written review. And also hit that subscribe button. If you think you would be a great guest, or if you have a friend or an acquaintance you think would be a great guest or guest for the 127 Fit podcast, you can just send me an email or give this email out. That email is 127fit@gmail.com. And one other favor I would ask of you guys is, if you are, which I know you are, finding great value in a specific episode or episodes of the 127 Fit podcast, I would just ask that you would take that specific episode or episodes that you're finding that value in and share it on your Facebook and Instagram stories using the hashtag #BeSomeoneToFollow. And per the usual, I will leave you with Proverbs 24:10, which states, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." This time, until next time, I will catch you guys later.